Hypocrisy.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Law-Splaining the Interwebs. I'm your host, Nick Recato of Recato Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. Woo! How's it going, guys? How is it going? I'm just trying to get everything situated like always. What's up to YouTube? What is up to Rumble? We are live on both platforms, kicking on both platforms, kicking ourselves in the teeth over and over again. But that being said, what's shaking, guys? What's shaking? It is, again, quintessentially December, and I'm not going to spend a ton of time ranting about it being December like I have been. I'll just reiterate that December, despite being my birthday month, having Christmas in it, and generally being full of mirth, is one of my least favorite months of the year every single year. But we're not going to dwell on that tonight. Aside from how late I'm already being late show already, and then ended up even later, of course, but that's okay. We are rolling here. Damn. Just trying again, getting everything organized. Good Lord. Tonight we have a whiskey review of a whiskey I've never tried. Where did I just set it? Yeah. Oh, here it is. This is pure Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. I think I got this as a gift. I've never seen this outside of this bottle, but we're gonna try it out. That'll be fun. That's on the menu. There's a little bit of what we're calling Trumpdates, I guess. Trump dates, Trump updates. Not going to spend a ton of time talking Trump today. Been talking about him a lot. A lot of it's just rehash of everything that's already said. If I were to go into like details and all this stuff, just want to kind of give some updates on where everything is. He's got some appeal stuff that's happening. There is a really interesting appeal decision in the E. Jean Carroll case, the defamation case. And we may spend a little bit of extra time talking about that because it's yet another novel legal concept involving a presidential immunity, this time from civil suit, which is established as a real thing that exists, but an interesting shutdown of Trump's attempt to use civil immunity on the E. Jean Carroll lawsuit. And we're going to have to look into that and talk about it a bit, not a ton. New Tyranny is the authorization of the National Defense Authorization Act, which has been, the throwaway. We don't need to declare war because we have authorized action for the national defense. That went ahead and passed, and all of the same Patriot Act era bullshit plus more is still there, still kicking, and Tyranny is alive and well. So we'll talk about that a little bit. But a lot of this, a lot of today, I'm kind of just hoping to do some I used to do this more, and I don't know where it went, but I used to kind of just interact with the chat on a little more frequent basis, not one-off interactions, but just kind of conversational. And I mean, a lot of live streamers do this, and I used to do it more, but I haven't lately. So we'll try and do some of that. Super chats are always a way to do it, but that's not the requisite way to communicate. Just kind of chatting with people in the chat and talking about topics as they come up when we kind of get past some of these planned topics. So we'll do some of that, just kind of back and forth chattery. If I see some interesting stuff, we'll go into it. We've got, there's some random stories out there that we could talk about. But yeah, it's, it's Thursday, man. It's Thursday. This week is one of my busiest weeks that I've had so far this year. Got kids stuff going on. My birthday's at the end of the week, trying to get everything organized. I got my, I had to drain and clean out my hot tub because you got to change the water every 6 months. And it's going to get really cold soon. It was a warm day. So got that done. It's been kind of getting everything ready for winter, like real proper winter, which is, thank God, not here yet, has been always fun. But like I said, not going to sit and dwell on that. Just kind of that's what's on my mind, eating up my time and making me crazy. And then, the rest of life is making me late. But yeah, so we'll do that. Hey, what's up, Nate? How you doing, buddy? It's been a long time, man. We gotta catch up. Nice to see you. Ducky Tats, how you doing? Can I come on the program one day? Oh, probably. We'll figure it out. We'll figure that out at some point. But yeah. Did I pee in the hot tub again? No, it's just after like every 6 months or so, the water, you use chemicals to keep the water at a certain pH and relatively clean and free of bacteria and all that stuff with like chlorine and shit like that. But after a while, like the water starts to feel conditioned and it's still clean. It's fine, but it just doesn't feel good. I don't know how else to describe it. It doesn't feel nice. So you just drain it, scrub out any of the because we have really heavy element water here or heavy minerally water here in Minnesota. So that it gets some like scale that gets built up around. You got to scrub that off. Otherwise, again, it just doesn't look as nice and doesn't feel as good. But yeah, so you got to do that every so often, which is fun. If you live in a city, you can just have someone else do it. But if you live out in the country, you got to do it. There's no one to do it. No one even does this. But it's why Nick is very oily. Yes, well, it comes with being a lawyer. But we'll yeah, I guess we're mostly going to kind of get into it here. I'm going to do a toast. We've got the whiskey review. Should we do a toast with the first sip of the whiskey review? We'll do that. Let's get this thing open if I can. But yeah, just kind of a relaxed show tonight. Hope everybody's doing well. We might review some shit that Maddox has been up to because Maddox is just a disaster. He's on his crusade now, like 6 years too late to rectify everything. Oh, BS. Nick does not know how to do work. No, yes, that's correct. Oh my gosh. No, Ducky, I haven't watched anything, man. I have been all day. I was just all over the place driving and doing random shit. It is so busy. Ooh, that smells bourbony. Oh, I gotta read the little message too. Glug, 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 glug. All right. Bottle looks good. Oh my gosh, here we go. Pure Kentucky XO. So we're going to read this. This is again, we're going to start with the whiskey review because the whiskey review takes like kind of a good chunk of the show in little segments. And what I like to do is read what the bottle says. The packaging is the packaging actually looks kind of cheap to me. I always had to, every time I pass this in my house, I thought it was like brandy or cognac because it's got the XO on there and the bottle doesn't look bourbony until you read that it's bourbon. It's like, oh yeah. But I like to read what they say about themselves. This extraordinary bourbon is a result of generations of the master distiller's fine art of distilling. Pure Kentucky is an all-natural product made with all natural ingredients and pure limestone water. It is a true masterpiece among Kentucky's finest bourbons, aged in select new white oak barrels in traditional open rick houses in the heart of the bluegrass region until fully mature. We hand bottle this bourbon in very limited quantities. How do you hand bottle it? One small batch at a time. It's Pure Kentucky bourbon extraordinaire. Please enjoy in moderation. Well, why would you say that? So this is original small batch bourbon, handmade in Kentucky, aged in new charred oak barrels, bottled in Kentucky. Symbol of quality, DSP KY 78. I wish I was joking. It literally says DSP KY 78. Now I know that the KY is for Kentucky, but KY means something else on the internet sometimes. And following DSP, I feel like this is very hostile towards him. But yeah, that's that. So I am going to do we'll do the first taste, and then we will do the cheers to Cheesy Boy, and then we'll get on to the Trump dates and all that stuff. Smells a little bit gasoline-y, so okay, that's better. I mean, it has a kind of a caramely corn smell like bourbon, right? Not a surprise. It's a bourbon. Mm. Mm. Okay, that's really, really delicious. Holy crap. I mean, it's very much a bourbon. Tastes like bourbon, tastes like corn. It's got a little bit of sourness to it, but not much at all. It's very, very smooth. Almost no burn at all. Good Lord, that was delicious. I was actually shocked. Wow. I didn't expect it to be that fucking good. That's a good bourbon. Okay, 10 out of 10 recommend this bourbon. The hell is this? I've never seen this in my life. Is this just 40%? Let me see. Oh, it's 53.5% alcohol too. So it's 107 proof. It's not faint or weak at all. Damn. That was good. Shit. That's a little odd for my whiskey reviews don't normally go like that. I apologize for my reaction. It was a little forward. Whew. Got me nervous. Got me nervous. Aaron Hack says, do you get all these you try from Minnesota liquor stores? A lot of them I do. This one I think someone gave to me or sent to me, but I've had it for a while, so I can't quite remember. I don't remember ever seeing this in a store. Buildozer, the whiskey this is Pure Kentucky. Pure Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. That's what it's called, Pure Kentucky. Pure Kentucky bourbon. And it's man, I can't imagine. Hold on. If I got that around here, I'm going to buy a shitload of it. Look, it's guys, this is like a $40 bottle. This is not an expensive bottle of whiskey at all, and it's really terrific. I gotta give it props, man. That's a good bourbon. So I like this because I can usually, a lot of times it's easy to recommend a bourbon that's like $120. Jeezy, was it Jeezy F? The Jeezy F says it's made by Willet. Okay, that makes sense. Willet is the ridiculous. They sell these pot still bottles. This is better than Willet, in my opinion. This is better than the pot still bottle of Willet. The pot still bottle, get one of those if you like the bottle. It's a cool like souvenir or whatever. If you want a better bourbon though, this is way better. It's cheaper. Man, that's fucking good. Well, there you go. There you go. All right. To cheat now onto the toast. Oh shit, I should have done the flavor profile. We'll get to that eventually. Cheesy Boy says, may I have a toast to my recent marriage? My wife and I may be young and broke, but we love God and each other. You don't have to drink unless you want to. Thank you for your content, despite your schedule. Yeah. Yes. Cheers to you, your wife, your recent marriage, your journey together, your journey with God and each other. And a lot of people wait for the time that they're ready. Mentioned being young and broke. Oh, we got to get ready. We got to be financially sound. We got to do this for, to get married and have kids. You'll never have enough money to get married. You'll never have enough money to get kids or to have kids. You have enough money to get kids, I guess, if you're like, like a politician, you just buy them, I guess. No, you never, and you practically just never have enough because your lifestyle changes based on what income you have. So even if you have income that's sufficient or you improve your income, you'll quickly go to match it most of the time without severe discipline, and you'll still never have enough money for kids or marriage. So just go for it, man. When it's ready, be ready and go for it. Don't worry about the funds. Don't let those be the things that slow you down from your life's journey and adventure. Cheers to your marriage. May it be long, prosperous, fruitful, beneficial. May it be filled with joy. May your love grow in complexity, richness, depth, and may your desires for each other never cease. Cheers. I am just shocked at how unharsh that is. It's very, it's very straightforward corn bourbon, man. I mean, there's not a lot to it other than it's just right there. Like, it's just good. It's just good. Damn. All right. So there's that. Matt HTX 777 says, discouraging me about going to the border helped. Thanks, Nick. Oh, good. Good. I'm glad. Oh yeah. One announcement, tomorrow we will have, Fudbusters on the show. Tomorrow, the show will start at 11. I have to make it start at 11. And I'm not a big fan of these erratic scheduled shows, like 11:30, 12:30, whatever it is. I don't like doing that at all. It's just been the practical effect of life lately. Fudbusters will be on. He'll give us, we're going to go through some Second Amendment updates in the case law, what's going on in the courts, what's happened recently in the courts, what's going on with cases that he's fighting. And he's got a personal issue on Twitter with someone falsely filing a police report against him over a Twitter picture, which was he's threatened to sue the guy. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but it should be interesting to talk to him. Fudbusters is always a good show. He's pretty cool to talk to, and it's been a little while. So always like that guy. And I tried to get him on tonight. He said he could have made tonight work, but he would have been really, really exhausted. And I was like, let's do tomorrow. So very happy to have him on then. Okay. That's a good bourbon. All right, let's get to these basic Trump dates. So the state rested today in Trump's fraud case in New York. So the fraud case is over. Now Judge Engoron is going to render his decision on how much Trump owes. He says, all right, you're out. Catch you later, buddy. Have a good night. Stangy Lake says, will the rat be on? Who's the rat? Am I missing something? I think I'm missing an internal meme there. Yes, the Trump fraud case, though, that is over. Testimony is done. The sides have presented their arguments, and they've rested. Or, well, I guess there may be closing arguments still coming up, but this case is coming to a conclusion soon. Now, remember that the judge has already ruled that Trump commit fraud. Don't know how the judge just decided that Trump commit fraud. The remaining thing was how much damages. How much damages will there be from Trump to the state of New York on behalf of banks who have complained? So I guess there's that. Let's see. The state of New York has asked for $250 million and to basically shut down Trump's businesses, deny their business licenses in New York, potentially seize their property. The ruling could be absolutely devastating for Donald Trump and the Trump organization. Except it's going to be appealed. It's definitely going to be appealed. But yeah, we'll have to see how it goes. I have a feeling it's going to be $250 million or maybe more. Maybe the judge will determine that wasn't enough. The evidence at trial was that Trump somehow defrauded banks out of more than that. I'm not aware of an actual number or any testimony from anyone around who actually lost money from Donald Trump. That's the weird thing about this case. Remember, this case is an odd one because it's about banks who lent money to Donald Trump based on representations that he made about his own net worth and the values of his properties. Not necessarily collateralized properties, but properties to bolster a financial statement, a personal financial statement. You see, when you get rich enough, you just get to say how much money you are worth, and then they lend you money based on that. It's a cool system for rich people. So they say, wow, you're worth $1 billion? Well, here's how much money you can borrow on this thing, and here's the rate we'll give it to you based on your worth, because we think you'll pay it back if you're worth a certain amount. So Trump borrowed based on his representations to these banks. They lent him money. They gave him an interest schedule, a payment schedule, and he paid back all of the loans without late payments, without any sort of compromise. So everybody who is a quote unquote victim that the state of New York would be representing in this case got paid. They got paid everything they were owed based on a mutually agreed upon contract. Let's see what Letitia James, the Attorney General of New York, who is prosecuting this case, has to say about it. It's kind of telling. It's kind of telling about this whole sort of perspective that she has. Where the hell is it? Wait a minute. Did I not retweet that? God damn it. Did I just reply? Weird. Okay. I thought I had retweeted this, but shit. Hold on. Let me find the tweet now. I called this bitch a hack. You know why? Because she is. Here we go. Sorry about that. I thought I'd just find my retweet of it. That's really annoying. Here we go. Look at that darling person. Today, we rested our case against Donald Trump for years of financial fraud. Now, again, what harm did Donald Trump cause someone with the alleged fraud? Because, like, to be a victim of fraud is not just like you were deceived. You have to be deceived out of something. What did they lose? What did they lose? Absent-minded says, what about Trump University? No testimony in this case, but didn't a bunch of people try to sue over that, saying it was all BS? Again, unrelated to this case at all. Yes, people did. Trump University does look like it was BS, but this case wasn't about Trump University. This case is about banks who lent Trump money for property. But yeah, Trump University seemed like a scam. I don't know about individual people's universities, but but here we go. The judge already found that Trump engaged in significant fraud and unjustly enriched himself and his family. Again, we don't know how he did this. The judge just decided that. Now, the judge had determined this before any testimony in the case had occurred. The judge determined that Trump engaged in fraud and unjustly enriched himself and his family by borrowing money and paying it back. It's the weirdest fraud case in history when you think about unjust enrichment. So you borrowed money by lying, you paid it all back under the terms, and that was therefore fraudulent and unjust. I guess this trial revealed the full extent of that fraud and Trump's inability to disprove it. It is not his job to disprove it. But this is a civil trial. That's one of the problems with it. It's not criminal. So the burden of proof is actually lower. Trump didn't have to disprove it. They still had to prove their case, but they had to prove it, quote unquote, make it more likely than not by a preponderance of the evidence, 51%. But does anybody know the extent of fraud? Like, let's say Donald Trump lied about his net worth. Okay. I'll take it. I'll bite. He lied about his net worth and the values of property. Where's the fraud? Where's the fraud? Because fraud requires that the lie induce activity that puts someone in harm. but alas, there's no harm that we can identify. Now, New York Attorney General Letitia James will suggest that the harm was interest that the banks could have charged, but did not because of Trump's misrepresentation, which is nonsensical. When you just get down to the basics of how lending with a high value client works, this is nonsensical for every reason you can think of. A lot of it just being banks obviously know or have their own opinion on how much Trump is worth, and what he says is irrelevant. It's irrelevant. They're not going off of his numbers. They're going off of numbers that they will accept from their own due diligence. Now, if their own due diligence concludes that his numbers are sufficient, they can go off of that. But they're not just going off of it. They're not like, well, we'll just take your word for it. La-di-da. That's not how this works. It's not how lending to billionaires works. It's not how lending to anybody works. Instead, they come up with their own numbers and they conclude what they will. Now, Deutsche Bank, who's one of the alleged victims in this case, came out and said he gave us his financials. We came up with different lower numbers. Yeah, but they didn't matter. They didn't change what we would give him. If we went with our numbers, not his, and it doesn't change anything. And he paid us back. Why would we be mad? Why would we be mad about this? This is the ultimate question. Who's actually upset? No one. This is political. Since it's political, you then go to Letitia James, making a name for herself. Judge Engoron is highly motivated against Donald Trump, does not like him. He's an Obama appointee, but that's not the important. I mean, he's just a piece of shit to Trump in the entire trial. He put out some gag orders that were overbroad, that had to be narrowed by the appeals court. Though they were, quote unquote, largely kept in place, they did go too far, have been pared down. But ultimately, he already had lost the case, and all of this testimony was just about damages. Well, now this is over. We'll see what the damages end up being. But I wanted to give you guys an update because we've been following this case a little bit. We'll now see the extent of the damages in a judgment from the judge coming up in the next couple days here, hopefully. Or it could be, a month or two out, depending on how he wants to do that. But we'll see that soon. And then, of course, once this is done, this will be appealed straight up the gate, because this is not the initial judge ruling that Donald Trump engaged in fraud is a violation of his due process, in my opinion, and certainly doesn't follow the summary judgment standard, because there was conflicting evidence of material fact presented at trial on the original issues. So we know that there was a question of material fact that was in dispute, and that should have defeated summary judgment. Now, why is all this happening is kind of one last bit to go into on this part of the Trump stuff. We're almost done with this part of the Trump stuff. We'll go to other things in just a second. But why did it happen this way? He had a bench trial, not a jury trial. I don't know that a jury trial would have been much better for Trump, but maybe it would have. Doesn't really matter. He couldn't get a jury trial in this type of case. It's a civil case under a statute in New York that does not allow a jury trial at all. It is entirely done by the judge. And that is a big problem here. Like, that should not carry the amount of punishment that this judge is able to dole out, because it's devastating. And that alone seems unconstitutional, seems like a violation of due process rights, especially if they're going to deprive him of $250 million plus property seizures. But yeah, that's how this all came to be. And if Trump dared to call anyone out for being politically motivated, a gag order was placed on him, and he was charged thousands of dollars for it in a seemingly unconstitutional manner. But hey, what do? You know what? It's just the way it goes, right? But yeah, this one is a fun one for that reason. The whole purpose of his case, you may naively think the purpose of this case was to actually shut down Trump or to punish Trump, but it never was. The purpose of this case was entirely and solely about boosting Letitia James. That's why she did it. That's her motivation. Judge Engoron also profits from this. Oh, and one final wrinkle about this case, because this has been interesting. Trump and his attorneys, and they have called out the judge's law clerk in this case. The judge's law clerk has been called out by Trump. That's actually the reason for some of the gag orders. Don't target my staff. But here's the thing with this law clerk. This law clerk acted in a way that is not common, typical, or normal. In this case, the law clerk sat next to the judge. Sat next to the judge when the media was present, had her picture taken, had a bunch of stuff, passed notes to the judge, etc. The law clerk, every time Trump made fun of this law clerk, who's very friendly with Democrat politicians, it seems, very chummy in DC circles, or New York circles. Well, no, I would guess DC circles too. Very chummy with these people. This is also a boost for the law clerk. If you don't know what law clerks are, they typically are a lawyer that does research work for the judge. They'll research cases, synthesize them, write summaries for them, make sure that the citations in arguments are correct, are accurately relaying quotes and ideas, and that's kind of their job, to help the judge, because judges have so many fucking cases that span this huge gambit. These are more research assistants. This one, typically they don't sit next to the judge. This is a high-profile media case, and these are both, Democrats, very motivated Democrats with a very motivated Democrat prosecutor. But it's definitely not political and definitely not biased against Trump. Just so we're clear. But yeah, this is not how law clerks normally act for judges. But it was all theater. It was all theater. It was all show. Wendy Shrimp says, Nick, I realize I've paid off all my loans early. When is the state coming after me to recoup lost interest profit I swindled from the poor defenseless banks? I'd leave. Go get a loan right now. Go get a loan right now. Ask for extra interest rates. Tell them you have to apologize. But yeah, okay. So that case is there. Viva had a little tweet. He says, "How did the judge find fraud before you rested your case?" Oh, that's right. You're both filthy, corrupt communists. Good job, Viva. Amuse seems really suspect that Trump was found guilty before trial. Oh, I guess I could pull this up, giggity. The fact that he was denied a jury trial seems unfair. Well, no, it's not. He wasn't denied a jury trial. You don't get one under the statute. The statute's should be unconstitutional, but hey. Also, since you only make $220K a year, how are you worth $15 million? Always a good question. Commenting on an open case with conclusory statements again. Are we New York State AG? You have to prove it. Trump does not have to disprove anything. Diversity hire. Damn. First case I've ever seen with no victims. Hard to know it was 100%. How to know it's 100% political and everyone knows it. And this is amazing because again, the only victims in this case would be banks, and the banks have the ability to bring suit. They just didn't because they're not victims. It's good times. The Squid. How can the state bring a civil suit on behalf of victims who don't claim to be victims? This doesn't seem legal because they wrote a law that says they can. Pay attention to Carly Ellison. Who the hell's that? She in the chat? Oh, there we go. Oh, yeah. No, it's fine. You have to have a Carly Ellison around. Don't worry about it. Yeah, so the Trump fraud trial, that's where it's at, man. It's relatively over. The judge will render his decision. I don't think any of us are going to be surprised when it's pretty much the maximum that the state asked for, because Trump is the baddest man ever. Bad man, bad. And then we'll see what the appeals court does. And ultimately we'll get up to the Supreme Court is where it's going to have to end up, or not, or they'll ignore it. The Supreme Court's got so much Trump shit coming their way. They'll have to pick and choose their battles. It'll be weird. It's weird how much of a concerted effort is going into Trump right now, all from every angle possible. It's definitely nothing to do with the fact that he's very, very likely right now to win the 2024 presidential election. Has nothing to do with that at all. But hey, we'll see. All right. That's that Trump date. There's a much more interesting one, though, to me. And this is E. Jean Carroll. Trump is, well, we'll read the salon.com 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 article about this, because that's where we need to go on this one. One second. So E. Jean Carroll is the woman who accused Donald Trump of sexually assaulting her inside of like Saks Fifth Avenue or something like that in New York. And Trump's like, I've never even seen this. A hideous woman. It's not really my type. Wouldn't do it. Not really into her. She's not, what do you call it? What's the word? The American word, a very American word, wonderful word. She's not beautiful at all. Very non-beautiful. So this is the case. He, of course, lost the case against her. She sued him for defamation when he said that she was a liar or something like that. I don't know. It's very stupid. But or she sued him for the sexual harassment, I guess, or sexual assault. And no, yeah, defamation. She sued him for defamation. And here's what he did. He recently asserted presidential immunity. This thing's been going on for a while. This case was filed in 2019. Sorry, trying to wrap my brain around how all this played out and what I want to say. But this case was filed in 2019. He recently tried to assert presidential immunity. Okay. Now, if you remember the election interference cases, many of them were dismissed on grounds called standing. You know, you don't have standing to sue. Some of them were dismissed on this interesting principle called latches. Latches basically are where the court says it's not the right time. And if the court were to intervene here, it would be unfair to the other party. If the court were to, at this late stage, take some action, it would be unfair. You waited too long is the idea. Well, that's what happened here. But the problem is the claim is presidential immunity. So we now have a really interesting question that's going to have to go to the Supreme Court, because the appeals court effectively said that Trump waited too long to assert immunity. Therefore, he waived the immunity. There's a problem with that. Presidential immunity is not statutory immunity. It is constitutional immunity because, in part, the judicial branch ruling over the executive branch would be a violation of the separation of powers. Now, I don't know that Trump would have immunity from E. Jean Carroll, although I guess he would claim his statements are part of his duties as president because of something, but they seem personal. So, like, I don't know that he should have immunity in this case. I'm not actually 100% convinced of that. But what I do know is that an appeals court creating the idea that presidential immunity has waiver is very weird. Like, that is new. That's not something, there's no established principle on waiver of presidential immunity. And presidential immunity, again, it's not statutory. It's based on the inability of the judiciary to make a ruling against the executive that violates the separation of powers without a clear constitutional mandate. They don't have the ability to do it. That's what immunity is based on, because you won't find presidential immunity in the Constitution. It doesn't exist in the text. It's a concept created out of the idea that the court cannot hold itself over the executive by making rulings on it. So how do you waive that? If the judicial branch does not have the power to do something, you can't waive that and give it to them. But they said Trump waited too long. He waited too long to assert this immunity. He shouldn't even need to assert the immunity. He has it. He didn't expressly waive it. So we're going to have to look at what it says. But yes, this is getting appealed. This is, again, these are one of those crazy outcomes where you go, this has to be political. This has to be motivated. It has to be biased, because you cannot if you know how immunity works, you can't come to this concept of, well, you could waive it though. The way immunity is structured in this instance, it's not waivable because it's not a privilege. It's an immunity. Anyway, we'll get into it in just a second. Aaron Hack, Nick, what do you think of Vivek's comments on CNN about Whitmer? Genius. I have no idea what he said about Whitmer, but if it's anything other than Whitmer is a piece of garbage who needs to be removed from office, I don't know. I don't know what else to say. Whitmer's a piece of garbage who needs to be removed from office. Ben Frail says Clinton tried that with Jones. Doesn't work against civil suits. No, it does. It does. The thing was, I think with Jones, Clinton was president at the time the suit was brought, but the act he was being sued over was when he was not president. In this case, the defamation claims from Trump or from E. Jean Carroll against Donald Trump, the defamatory statements are made while Trump was president. There's a difference here. Clinton's thing was when he was governor, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I'm not sure what Vivek said about Whitmer. Maybe we can look it up. 3 says, speaking of totally not a weirdo, have you seen the Viva posts of Engeron topless pics to his high school alumni newspaper? Yes, we covered them. That dude's juicing, I'm pretty sure. That dude's juicing. He's got like really thick bicep veins. That looks like for a guy who's like 80 or whatever, like they're thick bicep veins in general and little noodly arms like mine, but they're fucking huge. So tells me probably juicing, but talking about the Fed conspiracy. All right. We'll look up the Vivek comments in a minute. I want to look at this Trump thing. Here we go. So salon.com, this will be very unbiased. Trump seeks immediate review from Supreme Court after losing presidential immunity appeal. Trump loses undue bid to assert presidential immunity claim. An appeals court on Wednesday ruled that Donald Trump can't claim presidential immunity from a defamation lawsuit brought by writer E. Jean Carroll, who accused him of rape. The Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in Manhattan maintained a federal judge's rejection of Trump's assertion of immunity on the grounds that Trump had waited too long to raise it as a defense. A 3-year delay is more than enough under our precedents to qualify as undue. You have no precedent on this. There isn't precedent on presidential immunity being waived. What precedent? And again, this immunity isn't the same types of immunity as others. The 3-judge panel who heard Trump's appeal on an expedited basis ahead of a scheduled January trial wrote in its opinion per Reuters, Kate of the Swiss says E. Jean Carroll is a lying cunt. And we have a YouTube video here. Hold on, we'll pull that up in a second. Carroll sued Trump in November 2019, seeks at least $10 million in damages over comments he made while in office that June after she first publicly accused him of raping her in the mid-1990s. Trump denied knowing Carroll, said she was not his type, and alleged she fabricated the rape claim to promote her memoir. He didn't claim absolute presidential immunity protected him from the suit until December 2022. U.S. District Judge Lewis Kaplan in Manhattan previously rejected Trump's effort to have Carroll's case dismissed and later refused to let Trump use immunity as a defense, citing the delay in attempting to revoke it or invoke it. Again, I don't know how you can waive presidential immunity. The concept of how presidential immunity works in civil suits is that the judicial branch cannot hold in judgment a president for acts done as president while president. Does that make sense? If he's acting as the president, cannot be held because that would be an unfair violation of the separation of powers, and they don't have the authority to do so. It curtails the president's ability to act because he must consider civil suits when he should not have to when acting as the president. Was Trump acting as the president when he said she's a liar? Maybe. You can make the argument at least. I don't know that he wins that ultimately, but was he doing that? Like, was he acting as president? But they didn't rule that he didn't qualify for immunity. They said he waited too long. Jesus Davila says, Nick, can chat get a toast? But in Kermit, well, Jesus Davila, yes, chat can. And I would like to give them a toast for being around. Hopefully they're having a great December and going into the holiday Christmas season. May they get a slimy green little sausage in their throats to tickle their tonsils. Cheers. All right, there you go. Thank you, Jesus Davila. Yeah, so back to this. Trump's lawyer, Alina Habba, called the ruling fundamentally flawed and said Trump would pursue an immediate review by the Supreme Court. It is. It's fundamentally flawed because the delay doesn't, as the justification just doesn't make sense. Carol's lawyer, Roberta Kaplan, oh my goodness, said in a statement, we are pleased that the Second Circuit affirmed Judge Kaplan's rulings. And that we can now move forward with trial. Carol was awarded $5 million in a civil trial against former president in May after a jury in a second lawsuit found Trump liable for sexually abusing and defaming her. It's funny, they found him liable for sexually abusing her, but not rape, not the way it was a weird fucking ruling. Judge Kaplan ruled that the findings applied to Carol's 2019 suit, making Trump's denial defamatory and leaving the jury trial to decide how much Trump is to pay Carol in damages. So yeah, he had this other pending suit, and now, now he loses them because the other case, because of how the other case turned out, that brought those statements into this trial. It's another one where Trump is found liable without trial. So that's cool. Good job. I like it. It's a great system you got there. Be a shame if someone came and fucked it up. But again, the whole aspect of presidential immunity from civil suit is that the judicial branch does not have the authority to make a ruling over a president who is acting in the auspices of his office. Now, if he's acting in his own self-interest, and you can easily argue here that Trump is acting in his own personal interest and not as president, but you can also argue that as president, he needs to defend himself from massive allegations of inappropriate conduct because he is to represent the nation. And those allegations, if he can't respond to them as president, then it erodes trust in the office and et cetera, et cetera. Does that win? I don't know, but you can make the argument. But it also is like, it's a personal defamation case and it's a personal, civil matter. But should he have presidential immunity from it? Well, I don't know if he should have it, but you can't say that it took too long. Just rule that he doesn't have it. Why don't they do that? Right? Like just say, oh, nope, you don't qualify. This isn't that. This isn't presidential immunity material because you're not acting as president. You're acting as Donald Trump, who happened to be president. You'd think they could just make that ruling and deny immunity that way, but they didn't. Instead, they said he waited too long. And that's the puzzling factor in all of this. The question is, if he didn't wait too long, would presidential immunity apply to this? If it does, she's fucked. But yet again, we have this court has created a rule for presidential immunity out of nothing. The Supreme Court, the Supreme Court created presidential immunity, make no mistake, based off these concepts of how the Constitution has to work. But they didn't create an expiration date on raising the defense. Because again, it's like jurisdiction. If the court doesn't actually have jurisdiction to hear the case and no one consented to the jurisdiction, how can you have the case? Like, it doesn't matter how long it is since when you assert it. It's like, well, too bad. Like, the court can't hear it. They don't have the authority. They don't have the authority to hear the case. They don't have the authority to make a ruling. That doesn't change just because it's 4 years later. Yeah, Delta Mike down and out. Tora Vieja says 30 years to make allegation. Okay. 3 years to make defense. Too long. Too long. It's a weird one, guys. It is a weird one. Again, all of this shit is just making up rules, which, I mean, judges make up rules all the fucking time, right? They make up their own rules, but they get tested. In this case, though, this made up rule does not comply in any way with the concept behind the underlying principle. And they're like, well, this doesn't, in our precedence, you don't have precedent on this. There isn't one. It doesn't exist. All right, we're gonna do part 2 of the whiskey review now, which is a shot. This I think is a little heavy for a shot, so I'm not gonna do this in one sip. I'll do a sip of probably half to 2/3 of this. That's about a shot, and then we'll leave the rest for some more sipping as we go. And then we're gonna pull up this E. Jean Carroll clip in a second, and then maybe we'll talk about that Vivek thing. That could be cool. But here we go. Got to see how it goes, after you've had one, had one or two. Now you're going to take it as a shot. How does this go down as a shot? Completely enjoyable. Man, I got to say, this is a shockingly good whiskey. Doing a shot of whiskey isn't always pleasant. I don't like shooting whiskey. It's not a big thing to do. I don't like shots of anything, really. I mean, I'll do them, but I'm not a big fan. That is so fucking smooth. God, it's smooth. I just don't know what to do about that. My whole world is broken. Random. Yeah, we'll probably talk about Twitch allowing artistic nudity. It's not porn, it's artistic nudity on the site. We'll probably talk about that in a little bit. USSJ for Broly says, you misread my Rumble rant, you big nose A-hat. I didn't miss it. I haven't gotten to it yet. I'm going to read it. K to the Swiss, he sent in this E. Jean Carroll's a lying cunt. This is like 40 seconds of video. God, she's ugly. Look at this. Let me get my headphones in here. Should EFAP the Jack show? Nah, they're doing their own. They're doing their thing. They're doing their thing. Okay, so this is E. Jean Carroll, I guess.
You don't feel like a victim.
I was not thrown on the ground and ravished, which the word rape carries so many sexual connotations. This
Wait. We're going to start that over. We're going to start that over. I wasn't thrown on the ground and ravished. Ravished? Like, that's not a... You mean ravaged could be negative or positive. Ravished is not a negative. Right? Like, that's a... maybe I'm crazy. Ravished. I guess ravish would be the... Let's see, seize and carry off by force. So, well, yeah, I guess if you throw someone down, seize them and carry off. But if you don't, but here's what she means. It's the literary meaning is fill someone with intense delight and enrapture them. Ravishing is a compliment. Like, that's a good thing. I don't think she said ravaged, which can, again, ravaged can be like a violent, forceful thing. But, some people like that, I guess. So here we go.
You don't feel like a victim.
I was not thrown on the ground and ravished, which the word rape carries so many sexual connotations.
Yeah, I mean, have you considered all the non-sexual rape? Considered all the other, like When people hear rape, they're always thinking sexually. There's so many sexual connotations. And what about the food connotations? What about the eyebrow connotations of rape? I feel like this chick is about to start doing like a little, like a pop lock move or whatever. Like, what the hell's going on with her? She looks weird. She looks like someone's wearing a mask that they made out of someone else. Not made of someone else. Made out of someone else. Oh, God. Sorry, I'm never going to get through this.
Which the word rape carries so many sexual connotations. This was not sexual.
Not sexual.
It hurt.
But I think most people think of rape as it is a violent assault. It is not.
This one. What rape is she thinking of? You know what? This wasn't that. This hurt. Oh, unlike all the gentle rapes out there. Wait a minute. You know, really, there's two kinds of rapes. This E. Jean Carroll woman, if she is a woman, is that even? We'll have to ask Matt Walsh if that's a woman, if he knows what a woman is. But she's talking about two different. Oh, there's the wonderful kind of rape, the sexual kind, the beautiful rape, the wonderful. When people talk about rape, what they're really talking about is the sexual kind, very, very wonderful. It's alluring, erotic. But there's the other kind of rape, and that one hurts. Oh, does that one hurt? She wasn't sexual. This one hurt. People listen to these people. They listen to these people. We're going to go back to this.
But I think most people think of rape as it is a violent assault. It is not.
Anderson Cooper's existence is a rape.
I think most people think of rape as being sexy.
You know, when I'm sitting around, I'm thinking about rape. One thought just won't escape my mind. It's that, God damn, rape is sexy. What the world needs now is rape, sweet rape. Has anyone ever thought that rape was unsexy? That's the question I think we need to ask ourselves. Has rape ever not been sexy? What? She's like, look at her face too. She's about to lick her lips. She's like, Now she's a lizard, so she's going to lick her eyeballs or whatever. But I think most people think rape is sexy. Like, are you trying to be controversial? Or are you trying to win a kid? What are you doing here?
Let's take a short break.
Think of the fantasies.
Wait, listen to Anderson Cooper try and fix this. Fix this, Andy Coop now. Fix it. Listen to him in the background. I'll shut up.
It is a violent assault. It is not.
I think most people think of rape as being sexy.
Let's take a short break.
Think of the fantasies.
Did you hear that? He's like, let's take a short break. Think of the fantasies. Right now, she's thinking of the fantasies. E. Jean Carroll, how many fantasy rapes do you have? What? Was this your fantasy? Could you? Some women are weird, though, right? Like, I think we can all agree some women are weird, and that on a long enough timeline, if you go up to someone and you say, "Please describe to me your apex sexual fantasy," she would say, being pushed into a dressing room in Saks Fifth Avenue in New York by Donald Trump and having him finger me while yelling, "You're fired," or whispering, "You're fired," directly into my ear balls. Like, somebody's got to have that one. Like, that's their thing, right? Like, she goes, "Ugh," every time she thinks of that. Guys, I noticed something about Trump. This is unrelated. I just saw it earlier. I saw a picture of him like sitting at the defense table, some case. Trump had the Zoomer cut before the Zoomers did. Sleeping Psycho says rape fantasy and fantasy rapes are two different things. Well, yes, a rape fantasy is a fantasy someone has that involves rape. Fantasy rapes are where you pick your rapists, like you have a budget, like a team budget, you pick your rapists, and then when you get your crime stats every day, your team advances or doesn't advance. Right? Like that's the fantasy, like it's fantasy rape league. They're going to have that, don't they? How do they do? If you guys were to, okay, now we got to do this. Someone has to make this game because you can make anything today. You can crowdfund whatever. Have fantasy football leagues with like points and stuff, and you get players very important. Like you get your quarterback from the Baltimore Orioles. That's a football team, right? Or whatever. No, so you get your you get your swimmer or whatever for when the ball goes in the moat. You put together a team. Like would you do it with, would it be like Chicago rapes? Or would it be like familial, like domestic rapes? Or would it be like random rapes? Like which ones are going to be bigger in the news this week? Right? Is it going to be like a statutory rape? Maybe it's going to be a rash of teachers, right? A bunch of women teachers with like teenage boys or something. Or maybe you're going to get maybe it's fed rape where like they're not really minors or whatever. They're all feds, but since the person thought they were minor, they get arrested. Like what is it? How do you construct your fantasy rape team? That seems like that could be a good game. That could be a good game. You gotta go off FBI statistics or whatever. Comes in once a year, baby. It's go big or go home. What if one guy was like so desperate to win his fantasy rape league? He's like, I gotta get these stats up. I don't know. This demographic on my team's losing. I got to get these stats up. I'll be right back. Like for football, it's hard for you to get in the NFL to influence the team that you're like that you've constructed. That's tough to do. But when it's fantasy rape stats, the only limit is your own determination. It's a good game, I think. We don't have enough like horrific concept games that exist. Is that Elmo raping Taylor Swift? Guys, what is happening in locals? What is this? What's going on here? Hey, Taylor, sing Wildest Dreams, bitch. Like, could you imagine? God, getting raped by Elmo would be the worst. Jesus Christ. Oh my goodness. You got that James Dean cock in your eyes, bitch. Here we go. Lost in Law. Lost in Law. Just got a check with a QUE. Oh, God, you're so fucking Canadian. From Trudeau because I'm a poor and to reimburse for carbon taxation. Now I share some with you and you can see you're profiting from climate change. We got to catch up soon, brother. Yeah, we do, man. I hope you're doing well. It's been a minute. Good Lord. Is there just like a whole bunch of like Muppets banging Taylor Swift memes? Like, is this a thing that exists? Wow. Okay, back to this. There's only a couple seconds left. She's like, think of the fantasies.
We're just going to take a quick break. If you can stick around, we'll talk more on the other side.
You're fascinating to talk to.
He's gay, woman. Like, look, I know you look like a man, but he's actually gay. That's Anderson Cooper. They can get away with anything. You can get away with fucking anything if you're on the right side of the political spectrum. Literally anything. She's sitting there talking about like rape fantasies and all that shit. And why? Like, what benefit what is she trying to get across? What point was that? And Anderson Cooper's like, whoa, shit. She's going to fuck this up for all of us. He's over here talking about rapes. It's like, that was just my bar mitzvah. Okay, we got USSJ4 Broly. He says, to your family with love and joy, may your holidays sparkle with laughter and warmth, creating cherished memories that illuminate all your hearts. Cheers, Nick. May you make millions in 2024. Hey, thank you. Thank you, USSJ4 Broly. Thanks for, you've been around a long time. I really appreciate it. Thanks for being there. Thanks for the lovely toast. I'm not going to add to it because it was perfect on its own, but I will drink with you. Cheers, my friend. And we have some good plans for the kids. There are like the Christmas season is interesting for them because like my family doesn't live up here in Minnesota. Lady Ragged's family is close, but like her family is so big that our family events like are never right around Christmas. There's like different times that happen. Christmas happens like 10 times in a row. It's wild. But the main thing is that we've got a good surprise for them on Saturday for my birthday. Let's talk about this for a second. Just chill, just casual stuff, nothing big. What do you do for your birthday when you get old? Like, cause if you're me, right? Like I don't really want anything. I don't need anything. They're nice, like gifts people can give me. I love them. I appreciate everything anybody gives me. But like, I mean, if I need something, I'm going to buy it. To want something means to actually like care about anything in the world. The only thing I care about, I demonstrated yesterday, was Macross Plus. Oh, I guess you could buy me like oh man, that'd be cool. I know. So I'm not going to rant about Macross Plus, I promise. But the two different prototype planes, the one the Gold and Isamu flew, they do have toys of those. Those are cool. I think my buddy has Isamu's plane. He might have Golds too. Those are cool. That would be fun. But I don't need those. I don't even want those. It just registered in my head that those might exist, and only because I got drunk and ranted about that last night. But like, what do you do? Like, so for me, we're going to take our kids to go do something for them. Like for me, that's fun. For me, I'm happy when my family is happy. I'm happy when they're doing stuff that makes them happy. I don't care, man. Like there's tons of shit I like to do. Don't get me wrong. But like, I do that stuff all the time. Like if I'm going to go out dancing with Lady Raggeds, yeah, I love doing that. But like, and we might do that on my birthday. I don't know. I hope so. Like I like her and hanging out, but like, that's not something for the kids. Like if you're going to go out dancing with your wife, like you're not gonna have the kids running around. That's a disaster. It's like, but I'm they're happy. And like, I'm happy when she's happy. So I don't know. Is that how you guys are to the married men out there? Cause the successfully married men that I know, I have noticed a consistent theme for them, that at some point in their life, they find contentment in the people around them being satisfied and like, happy or enjoying something or whatever. Like that is where they are. My dad's the big model on this one. My dad does stuff that I look at what he's doing. Like he's taking my mom to these places. I'm like, I know that's not what you would choose to do. But he just is, he's happy. He's happy there. And then I look over at my mom and she's smiling and I'm like, oh, this makes sense. This makes sense. I think that's a critical element to being a venerable married man. And you have to learn it as a skill, because when you're early on in your marriage, you're like, I don't want to do that. That sounds dumb. That's stupid. Like that's a woman thing. Who cares about that shit? And sometimes you do that like, oh, I got to work or whatever. But like when you get older, for me, I don't know. It's more like, well, like I may not want to do that, but what else am I going to do really? Like, I'm not going to go do something super cool. I'm probably just going to be sitting in my house if I'm not doing this. So maybe it's more fun to just go and like, while the other person has fun, you reap the benefits of that. To me, that's what it's like to be, a person married for a long time. Are other guys like that? Do you guys have any? Is that a thing? Jacob Pete says, fun fact, you know why you can't fit a car seat in the back of a Mustang? Because men can't have kids with other men. Jacob Pete, that's not actually true. You can very easily fit a car seat in the back of a Mustang. I have a booster seat in the back of mine sometimes. We don't have any kids in car seats yet, but they have a very nice, actually, the way those bucket seats or the back seats work in my Shelby, they would be really nice for a car seat. They fit just right. But you could only fit 2. When kids don't have legs. You don't want to put older kids in the back seat. The fucking leg room is like 1 inch. It's terrible. You can keep complaining like an old man. No, I complain like an old man all the time. I'm good at that. I wake up. What's that? So the Machine Gun Kelly has that song, Drug Dealer, right? He's like, I wake up, my head hurts. Now that's a young man's game. If you open that song as like a 40-year-old, like, I wake up, my knees, ankle, spleen, right elbow, left wrist, right eyebrow hurts. And 10 minutes later, that list changes and probably gets worse. Like that's how that goes. I complain about shit all the time, of course. But when we go out to do something, and like it's the list of things to do, but in our household, it's 7 people, right? 2 adults, 5 kids. The amount of times that I'm doing what I want to do with 7 people is rare. But the amount of times where I'm happy because what we're doing with those 7 people is fulfilling for all of them is often. Like as an adult, as a dad, do you ever want to go to an amusement park? No. Never. Well, why not? Amusement parks are cool at all ages. Yep, they are. But not when you've got 7 people with you. They're never fun with 7 people, especially when 5 of them will complain about walking. Not fun. But they are fun because they're all having fun. And then you go, yeah, this is cool. And then you go home and you check the bank statement and then your head hurts. But until then, it's great. So anyway, I don't know, just musing on, I'm getting older, guys. Like I'm going to be 42 in technically a day. It's technically Friday now. So Saturday, I'll be 42 years old. And it's like, life is so fucking strange. I couldn't fathom being 42 at any point in my life, even like earlier this year. And then now I'm like, I can't figure out what being young was like anymore. And you don't know when there's no easily identifiable tipping point for a lot of these things. Just all of a sudden you go from being young to being old. It's like, oh. And then eventually you're like, rape is sexy. But I like being 40. Well, I like the idea that I will be 42. 41 was a pretty cool year. And it's been a shit year in a lot of ways too. I don't want to oversell this year. This year has been probably one of the most roller coaster, like whiplash years of my life. Like super high, super low, super high, super low, constantly fucking like Wimbledon with meth addicts, fucking back and forth shit going on. But like, it's all been interesting. It's all been wild to be who I am now. And I don't mean that in some like weird way. I mean, I literally just mean old, because you stop caring about so much stuff, and like the stuff you start caring about is way different. And like your mentality is just different in all situations about everything. If I had the exact same year I had now when I was like 26, I probably would have eaten a bullet. But now it's just like you kind of laugh and you're like, well, that was weird. I don't know. I shouldn't keep rambling on this. We should wrap up the YouTube show and go over to Rumble. That'd probably be a good idea. Get your lithium figured out? What the fuck? Lithium? Steve C says, it's great turning 40. No one thinks you're 40. 50 is just fucking old. Oh, Steve C, you're not old. I don't even know. Are you 50? You don't look a day over 71. Here we go. John Harrison says, hey there, I live in Illinois. Was wondering, do I have to register my ARs before the new year? What would the penalty be? Thanks. I don't know what the penalty would be. Is under the law, yes, you do have to register your AR. That is a requirement that has been allowed. And actually, the Supreme Court refused to take up that case. So the ban in Illinois, I think, is standing. If I'm not mistaken, the semi-automatic rifle ban is going to just go ahead and stay in effect. Supreme Court has to have a circuit split before they revisit the issue. No big deal, I guess. Second Amendment's just not real. Yes, you do have to register it under the law. What does the penalty be? Well, I guess it depends on if they find it or not. I cannot give you legal advice on that one, man. That's very specialized. It's very localized to your state. What the penalty would be and the wisdom and propriety of doing it, I don't know. I would think that at some point when the Supreme Court takes up a circuit split on the issue, that they would find that registering ARs probably is a violation of the Second Amendment. But hey, who am I? Supreme Court hates the Second Amendment. They hate it. I know they did Bruin and it was super cool, and now they do not want to fucking touch it again, probably for another 5 to 10 years. So good luck. Move out of Illinois. Aaron Hack, I did see your chat that Radix Verum did a highlight stream of Vivek's Whitmer comments. Maybe I should have Radix on. Maybe I should do that. Not tonight, but maybe at some point. Nick Gers say, message redacted. What's the deal with Smith going assert with SCOTUS? Thoughts on good or bad? I think everything I read said it was good for Trump for multiple reasons. Well, Smith is okay. I talked about this the other day, but let's briefly rehash what he's talking about. Jack Smith is a special counsel prosecuting Donald Trump in the election fraud cases, and Trump, he made a bid for presidential immunity from criminal suit. It was denied. He appealed that to the Washington, D.C. Oh, goodness. To the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. Smith made a motion and a petition for cert to the Supreme Court saying, let's skip the Court of Appeals. The Supreme Court should answer this question. And people are like, well, why did Jack Smith do that? Because Trump is the one trying to get immunity. Well, Jack Smith is trying to keep a trial schedule that is designed to interfere with the election. So Jack Smith, Trump's trial in that Washington, D.C. case is set to start on March 4th, which I believe is Super Tuesday. And it's entirely designed from Judge Chulukin to interfere with Trump's primary efforts and then the general election, if it should extend into that. And so that's when it's supposed to start. Jack Smith wants to keep that schedule. Trump appealing to the Washington, D.C. Court of Appeals could delay that case for a year or 2 years without any sort of weird timeline issues. So Jack's going straight to the Supreme Court. He asked for expedited hearing. He got both of these things. The Supreme Court granted cert and asked for an expedited hearing because he wants them to say he has no immunity or he has immunity, but it doesn't apply here or whatever. And then it to go back because Jack Smith wants to fuck up Trump's presidential election bid. The timeline in the DC case is engineered to interfere with the election. There's no way around it. That's what it's for. And that's what Jack's trying to preserve. If Jack was trying to pursue justice in the pure sense, he wouldn't care that Donald Trump was, appealing to the DC Circuit Court of Appeals. Although he would reasonably be able to say, we need the Supreme Court to go ahead and hear this because the Supreme Court needs to hear this anyway. The question of whether or not presidents have criminal immunity is a novel question that must be answered by the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court's going to hear it. It doesn't make sense to go to the DC Appeals Court. Their opinion is irrelevant because the Supreme Court will issue the ruling. So that said, it's not unreasonable for him to do that. But to demand the expedited request is solely about preserving the trial schedule. Now, is it good or bad for Trump? It's neutral. Trump, I think, ultimately should win. The underlying case law, even the dicta in that case for the civil immunity suggests that Trump should have criminal immunity. And then 235 years of non-indictment suggests actually that presidents do have presidential immunity. the media is trying to make it out like, well, presidents just weren't charged for whatever reason, but Trump is so particularly bad. But that's a dumb way to frame it. Presidents weren't charged for criminal acts because the concept of presidential immunity from criminal acts by their political opponents is one that doesn't take rocket surgery to figure out why it matters. Like, we just go ahead and we just don't charge these guys unless it's really egregious crimes with real victims. Not like, well, Donald Trump questioned the election. Who's the victim? Who's harmed by Donald Trump questioning the election? Even if Trump like interfered with a congressional act, which is one of the charges, who's the victim? Congress got the act done. Trump didn't actually interfere with it. And again, Joe Biden, Trump wasn't the victor. It wasn't even a question. So how do we do this? Bush says Nixon. Nixon didn't ask for presidential immunity from civil suit. Nixon asked for presidential privilege over tapes that were not conducted in the role of his, or that were not recorded in the role of his, in the office of president. All right, here we go. But look, the most likely outcome, in my opinion, is that the Supreme Court issues a ruling that there is some level of criminal immunity. They create a test for it. They define the boundaries of it, and they remand this case back to the lower court, and it fucks up the timeline anyway. I think that's what's going to happen. I don't know if Trump gets criminal immunity here. I think he should, to be clear. I don't know if he gets it. I think when they remand it back to the district court will deny his immunity and it'll go back up the chain. But that's my thoughts on it. But yeah, they just want to preserve this trial schedule that's intended to harm Trump. I don't think it's going to work, but he's got so much other shit. They'll fuck with his election that way. Let's see next. Grifty says, hey, there's a reason 50 Shades was a bestseller. 50 Shades has zero rape fantasy in it. I know you're making a joke. I'm an expert on the first 50 Shades book. I'm the only person who is qualified to discuss it as a writer in a literature and creative writing major with a background in critical approaches to literature. I decided to read and review 50 Shades because I didn't want to actually comment on why I thought a bunch of conservative pastors talking about it were wrong. 50 Shades is not in any way a rape fantasy, a power fantasy. It's not the BDSM community hates it because it's not like a good representation of BDSM. 50 Shades of Grey is a woman's sexual empowerment book. It is E.L. James's wet dream that she in college would have been hot enough to completely destroy a 28-year-old billionaire, and make him break every rule he ever had. She would have all of the power over him and he would become a simp. She created OnlyFans in her mind before OnlyFans existed. Okay. She created a character whose entire purpose was to gather a sugar daddy who is a billionaire who would also marry her based on her brain. It's the most woman of woman books. And that's why it sold 100 million copies. Because its dialogue is trash. The technical writing is garbage. The underlying literary stuff going on is actually really good. I'm not going to pull punches. It's really good stuff happening in the subtext, the plot. There's some multiple narratives going on. There's great analogy and metaphor in the book, but the dialogue sucks. The personal conflict is weak. The references to things that are real are very poorly thought out. There needed to be an editor to fix those things. But the whole concept of female and not female empowerment, but female self-recognition, self-love, self-empowerment, and having control of situations. And then the shifting of power dynamics and a whole bunch of stuff is really interesting. That's the best parts of the book to me. But there's no rape fantasy in it at all. And the domination stuff, the dominatrix BDSM shit is so poorly done that none of it actually is even, it's not even tipping the toes into BDSM stuff because there is no control. There is no submission. There's nothing of the sort. And maybe she was intending that, but it's not good in that respect, but it's certainly not, there's no, the rape thing is not real in there. You don't want to besmirch the good name of 50 Shades of Grey. You're probably just telling a joke, and I took it too far. Tazamanot says, I'm confused. It seems as if it is clear a president has immunity when carrying out presidential activities, which would be Trump's defense. Is that what SCOTUS is ruling on specifically? I'm not sure which of the Jack Smith thing. It seems clear that a president would have presidential immunity when carrying out acts as president. Yes. But SCOTUS has never officially recognized criminal immunity for a president. They've hinted at it, but they've never recognized it. So they'll have to rule on that. That's probably what you're talking about. Chadwick Myers says, who had Taylor Business on their great fantasy list? Come clean, you pervs in chat. I had her boyfriend. I fucking, like, that's like a negative score. Bad Dragon Knight. Any chance of getting Carl Jobst on? Yes. He's talking about the completionist stuff and how he threatened to bring suit. Yes, I'm going to reach out to Carl. I want to do that. I don't know what his December looks like. Hopefully I can talk to him soon. It's been way too long. I really like Carl. I think he does a great show. And when I interviewed him the first time, he didn't realize this show was like it is. He's like, oh, I'm going on a lawyer show. I need to be like more whatever. I think the next time we talk, it's going to be way better. But he's a good dude. Boosh says, I saw the movie because I dated a chick who made me. I paid for tickets and snacks and drove. I felt just like Christian Grey. No BDSM. Not even you didn't even get sex after that? Like, look, the 50 Shades movie, it's not great. Like, who cares? It's a throwaway movie. But like Dakota, not Dakota. What's her name? What was the girl's name in that? Damn it. Who's the chick in this? The actress. Damn it. Dakota. Oh, it was Dakota. Dakota Johnson. She's cute, right? Like she's decent looking. She's naked a whole lot. It's not the worst thing. She's not like the hottest chick ever, though. That's the whole point of Anastasia, by the way, is she's not like a supermodel. She's just like an above average girl next door college chick. Like that's who she's supposed to be. But yeah, I don't know. I think Lady Rackets and I watched all 3 movies. I only read the first book. I was going to read the second and third books, but I ran out of time. Like I ran out of time and interest. And only the first book was the controversial one. And I just didn't want to call out people for not reading the book without reading the book. That's deep lore. But I wanted to, I kept seeing these preachers talk about this book. And I was like, I don't think they've even read it. So then I read it and I determined that I was correct. But I didn't want to do that without checking. Isaac Baruch's wholesome gabagool art says, doesn't look like a guy with a broke peen for once. What the fuck are you talking about? Bad Dragon says, also an early merry 42nd birth miss to you, Nick. What is the meaning of life? You know, it's 42, buddy. Thank you. Cheers. SD Smasher says, why are you still on YouTube, man? Like 30 minutes later after you said you'd switch to Rumble. Well, I'm reading the YouTube chats. There's a couple left. 2 left. Grifty says, is the part of the new NDAA that prevents POTUS from leaving NATO without Senate approval constitutional? No. How can they limit presidential powers he had before the bill? They can't. Toby Garton says, missed you, man, since Vic Hart. Thanks, bro. Hey, well, I'm glad you missed me, but I've been here, buddy. Anyways, cheers to you. All right, guys, we're going to get off YouTube. We're going to go to Rumble exclusively. We'll see you guys over there. If you need to have a link, click on the link in the pin chat or in the description on YouTube. Rumble people, well, you know, you're not changing, but YouTube people, we'll see you in a second. Or we'll see you as you get over to Rumble. If you haven't been on Rumble in a while, go check it out. It's going to get better and better and better and thicker and harder. No, let's keep going. All right, guys, we'll see you over on Rumble. And if not, we will see you tomorrow. Fudbusters will be here. We're talking guns, 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 come and guns. That's from Fudbusters. We'll see you guys there. Have a good night. Peace. Peace.